In this video, I'm going to show you how to do an oil change on this Ford F-250 with a 5.4 liter V8 engine. Let's get started. From underneath the truck, you'll see that towards the center here, you have your engine oil pan with a 16mm drain plug. Put a socket or a wrench on that and break it free. I have a drain pan waiting to collect the oil. It's already starting to drip, and unfortunately this one's a little bit stuck, so sometimes you have to just unthread it all the way. There we go. Remove the drain plug. It's down to a drip, so I'm going to cap this off. That way we can continue with our job without it dripping on us. Just going to snug it up by hand. There we go. Now let's remove the oil filter so we can change it out for a new one. Sometimes you can do this by hand. Other times you're probably going to need an oil filter wrench. I'm just going to put an oil filter wrench on it. Whatever style wrench you have, I'm sure it'll grab onto it enough to spin it loose. Once you break it free, you should be able to unthread it. Make sure you catch all that oil in your drain pan. There we go. Inspect the surface. I'm just going to wipe it off with a clean rag. And when you do this, you want to make sure the old oil filter O-ring or gasket doesn't stick on the engine or on the oil filter housing, because if it does and you put the new one on, it'll double gasket, it won't seal up, and it'll leak everywhere. The fact that this is continuing to leak here is not that big of a deal. I'm going to wipe it off right before the new oil filter goes up. Speaking of, let's get that installed. I prefer to pre-fill my oil filters. That way they don't start out dry. I'm using 5W20 oil. That's what this truck takes. And I'm going to fill it all the way to the top, let it soak into the filter a little bit, top it off, and then we'll install it. While it's soaking in, I'm going to take a little bit of that new oil, put it around the gasket, which this is what you want to watch for on that oil filter housing, that it doesn't stick from the old filter. Lubricating this will actually help it not stick in the future when you do the next oil change. I'm going to give this one last wipe and install the new oil filter. When you thread it on, make sure it goes on smoothly. If it doesn't, it's probably cross-threading, so back it off and try again. This is bottomed out now. All you have to tighten it is about 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn, not more than that. Don't use the filter wrench to tighten it. That's 1/2 a turn right there, and it feels pretty tight, so that's where I'm going to stop. On the passenger side of the engine, you'll see the oil filler cap here. Remove it by turning it counterclockwise, and you'll see it says 5W20 on it. That's the engine oil type you need. And this engine takes 7 quarts of that. Now, if you pre-filled the filter, obviously that's part of the 7 quarts. If not, put 7 quarts in here. All right, I'm on my last quart. If you used a funnel, remove it. Reinstall the oil filler cap. Tighten it up. On the driver's side of the engine compartment, you'll see the yellow dipstick with a round ring on it at the top. This is the one for the engine oil. The one on the other side next to the oil filler is actually for the transmission. So pull the dipstick out completely. We're going to have to wipe it off because at first the reading will be inaccurate. The dipstick already has some oil on it from it being in the oil pan. Once you wipe it off, you'll see the clear markings of the low side and the high side. Between the two should be about 1 quart worth of oil. But if you put 7 quarts in, with the engine not started yet, it should be right above the full mark. If you have already started your engine and then shut it back off, let it sit for a few minutes, it should be right at the full mark. If you're low because you did not put 7 quarts in, well, you're going to have to add more. 7 quarts should be right about here, like I said. Now dip it back in, all the way down, and then pull it back out. At this time, we will not be wiping it off because we need to take a reading of what it says. As you can see, it's right up to the full mark, so we're good to go. Once you're done, stick it back into the dipstick tube, all the way down, and there we go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.